In this next article, that was actually a part of the last news show, but the computer crashed. It's from the New York Post. China sanctions 6 major GOP lawmakers over Hong Kong retaliation. China has imposed sanctions on 11 U.S. citizens, including 6 prominent U.S. lawmakers, for the response to Hong Kong-related issues, the country's foreign ministry announced Monday. Quote, in a response to those wrong U.S. behaviors, China has decided to impose sanctions on individuals who have behaved egregiously on Hong Kong-related issues, end quote, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said. Among those targeted were Senator Marco Rubio, Republican from Florida, Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas, Tom Cotton, Republican from Arkansas, Pat Toomey, Republican from Pennsylvania, and Josh Hawley, Republican for Missouri, as well as Representative Chris Smith, Republican from New Jersey. Oops, I missed him. So it's not just senators. It's, I guess that's why they use the word lawmakers there. Beijing sanctions did not include any Trump administration officials, and Zhao did not specify what sanctions would entail. The move comes in response to U.S. imposition of sanctions on 11 Hong Kong and Chinese officials accused of curtailing political reforms in Hong Kong, a former British colony that was handed back to the communist nation in 1997. I think that was just a huge mistake to ever do that. We should have just said, Jack, move, y'all ain't shit. Because China they've turned into a Nazi regime. People think that like Nazism is this like diametrically opposite to communism, and this is completely false. No, communism turns into National Socialism. That's what people don't understand. The far left means the flattest hierarchy. Traditionally, that's what the definition of it means. Far left means the flattest hierarchy, which is communism, where the community controls everything. And then the farthest right is National Socialism, where you can have private ownership, but the government is in control of the business. You can start a business, you can own a business, but if the government wants to commandeer your business for whatever purpose they want, they can do that. Then there's the steep hierarchy, which is what it means to be far right. Steep hierarchy versus flat hierarchy. And then China matches this definition exactly because they have hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside they use for a baby factory. It's bizarre. It is the most bizarre thing. A baby factory out in the country. They send the children out to the cities to go send money back. And then so it turns out to be a baby factory. Then they have millions of Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps. They have a dictator who looks just like Winnie the Pooh. They have ultra-rich Asians, so there's a huge difference in between the impoverished people in the country and the ultra-rich Asians, and it's a hierarchy. Why? Because you have to compete to get to the top. It's a competition. They want the best and the brightest, and they want them to compete. Because if they didn't, they would be beta as fuck. And so that is called National Socialism. That is the textbook definition of National Socialism. You can go into the specifics of how Germany organized their thing, but they weren't trying to just make it Germany. The reason why they hated the Jews was because they were the white supremacists who controlled the world, quote unquote. It wasn't actually true. But the Chinese also use the same tactic. So they say, if you say the word kung flu, that this is racist against Chinese. And the reason why is because they say Chinese is a race of people. What other group of people said that they were a race of people when they were in fact actually an ethnicity of people? Nazis. Nazis said we are a race of people who are being discriminated against by the white supremacist Jews who controlled the world, and they had to take them out. It's the same story. They repeated it in Korea. They repeated it in China. They repeated it in Russia. Everywhere. It's the same story. That's how they take over. I've been noticing this stuff by seeing the patterns that these people go through in the phases of when they take over the countries. They're doing the same thing in America with this cultural Marxism. It's a left, right, center phase strategy. What you do is you make the left popular. And so in the United States, they are engaging in cultural Marxism in Hollywood to sell films in Hollywood. This was the lead story a few days back in Real Simple News. They've been Winnie the Pooh will not allow movies in China that are critical of Winnie the Pooh or of the Chinese Nazi Party. And they won't allow anything that encourages sedition, encourages Hong Kong to be a democratic state. And because of this, it's the left phase of the left-right center strategy. And what you do is you want to drum up fear. So what you have to do is you have to paint a boogeyman. So what you do is you start by bringing out, because you can't just bring out the boogeyman. You don't start with the boogeyman. This is what everybody's they think that everything was started from the end state of what we know of history. They're like, okay, Nazis were just bad genocidal maniacs. That's the end state. That's what Nazis were. No. Nazis started out as anti-racist liberals because Germany never owned slaves. They weren't racist. So they then thought they were wronged. They thought they had been that the Jews had taken from them because they lost a war, and the Jews had advocated that they give up their weapons, and then they after the war, they biased everything towards their in-group of people, which then caused them to be hated. And this is the same story going on here in America, too. They're saying the white supremacist American is controlling the country. They're saying that they've been wronged, that they have had, their people have been killed, that the women are being oppressed. And so because of that, we need to circumvent our judicial system and just go with the mob rule mentality. And the people in Hollywood are actually bringing about real National Socialist, authoritarian, police state, nightmare, dystopia with cultural Marxism coming to a theater near you. They're literally paying off people in Hollywood to take formerly good movies, replace the character with a minority or a woman, and create an absolute just garbage bullshit movie. It sucked. But it doesn't have to make money in America. They make way more money in China when Winnie the Pooh subsidizes cultural Marxism. These are the ivory tower liberals who are pushing all of this anti-racism equality bullshit. And they're white feminists. Everything about these people is despicable. Now, I'm not saying that Democrats should no longer exist as a group. I think that a one-party rule that's the problem, is a one-party rule state. I would never want to live in a world where it's just the right or just the left. This is why we call them leftists and not the left, You have to target your language when you're talking about these people. Leftists believe in fairness, like people are getting oppressed and they have to do something to protect these people. So they have to join up with the people fighting. And when you're fighting, you're in an army that's what? An authoritarian structure. It's an authoritarian structure. When you fight in an army, by all definitions, that is as authoritarian as it gets. Your workplace is also, too, as authoritarian as it gets. So people who are pushing this are also pushing it in workplaces that are very authoritarian. So this is why it's incredibly dangerous that corporations in America are buying into this cultural Marxism. I worked as an outreach ambassador for Portland State University's engineering school to hire minorities and women to replace the white guys. I don't know if you noticed this. I am a cracker. I am very white. What am I doing? Why on earth are they hiring a white guy to go replace minorities with the white dudes with minorities and women? This is this very strange predicament. This was back when I was a radicalized liberal, and I didn't put any thought into it. But my boss was a Latina, and she told me we weren't trying to recruit black people because their GPAs were too low. They just wanted to recruit Latinos, Asians, and women. And if you're not familiar with this chart, I'm only showing it because I wish that it wasn't like this. I don't support this. I think that we can improve, but you cannot improve without first looking at the data. This is a chart of the GPAs of African Americans, Asians, white people, and Latinos. And at the bottom, we can see the African Americans are at the bottom. Here's the colors, or the triangle. Like triangle, so black people are the circle, Hispanics, Asians. So what we have is we have a situation where the African Americans have the lowest grades, followed by the Latinos, followed by the white people, followed by the Asians up there at top. Good job to the Asians. Definitely commendable job. But y'all really should not go so hard, because you have to put nets outside of the workplace to prevent people from jumping off the top of the buildings. And, well, I don't really know too many people that would actually really want to live in a world where you are going so hard they have to put nets around the building to prevent people from jumping off. That does not seem to be a good life to me. But what was the point of that? So we had the GPAs, and so these people in Hollywood pushing this cultural Marxism, they're saying the white man's oppressing the black people because the black people in the cities, they're in big cities, they fell at the bottom of the hierarchy. The rent's too damn high, where everything is oppressive. Even the white people that live there feel oppressed. So if the white people in the city are feeling oppressed, too, because the rent is so damn high, everything's so expensive, it obviously can't be racism that's holding the black people down. Because if that was true, then everybody in the city that was white would just be fabulously wealthy, because with the rent prices and how much money they're making at those businesses, they would have to be filthy, stinking rich, right? No, it's not the way it works in big cities. People are usually living paycheck to paycheck. They're spending all their money. It's going up into the property value, and some dude a long time ago made the money, and then now everybody's not making the money. So the people in Hollywood, going back to the topic, because that was a little bit of a tangent, but it is actually necessary. These people in Hollywood, they're advocating for that we endorse feminism, because they want women to put off having a child until their 30s and kill off their family line in order to slave for some millionaire. And then they're going to tell you that the millionaire is a bad person for being successful because everybody wants to slave for this person, that somehow this was a bad person or something. And the reason why is because they get popularity, they get likes on the internet. When you say the Wham men are oppressed on Twitter, people will like your post. They will. But if you're a conservative and you post something thought-provoking on Twitter, it will be like a ghost town, crickets chirping. Nobody's going to like your post. Trust me. Go to my Facebook or go to my Twitter at RSS Commentary. There's definitely plenty of proof that it is conservatives like what they see and they love what they hear, but they're conservative with their likes. That's because they're conservative people. So we have a situation where the leftists are running amok. They're getting anything that they want. They're because they have these Hollywood celebrities getting paid by China in order to kill off our culture by replacing our movie characters with minorities and women, even though there's 72% white people in this country. They now want 50% of the candidates to be black, 50% to be Latino, 50% to be Asian, 50% women. And obviously they've never taken statistics because those numbers don't add up to 1. And next, now we've got China sanctioning people. I, too, openly encourage sedition of Hong Kong, that they bring democracy to Hong Kong and overthrow the overweight dictator Winnie the Pooh and get those Uyghur Muslims out of those concentration camps and get those well, I don't know what to tell them about the people in the countryside with the baby factory thing, because there's so many people there, they can't all live the American lifestyle. So the reason why they're doing that is because there's not enough resources to share with those people. So they're living the American lifestyle in the cities while the baby factories are pumping out baby. It's bizarre. I mean, everything under Nazism is completely bizarre. That's why it started as an equality movement, because when you are in Looney Town, all of the signs are backwards and they all go to the same place. They all have the wrong names on them. This is why we call it authoritarianism and Looneyville.